Have you ever wondered why, even after praying every morning, your heart still feels distant from heaven? Why does peace seem absent even when your lips speak sacred words? Padre Pio, a man marked by the wounds of Christ, revealed something terrifying, something that many faithful people do without even realizing, and that something might be the very act that is closing heaven's doors to your soul. There is a habit, a simple morning routine that millions repeat with good intentions. But instead of attracting grace, it pushes it away. Instead of inviting light, it welcomes spiritual silence. According to Padre Pio, this habit, done right after waking up, can silence heaven's voice and leave your soul vulnerable, disconnected, and exposed. You might think your faith is strong, you might even pray daily, but the truth is, prayer without awareness, without reverence, without the right disposition, can become noise, cold, empty noise. And God doesn't respond to noise. In this video, we will unveil the exact warning that Padre Pio gave, a message so urgent that it could change the way you begin every day for the rest of your life. If you've ever felt like heaven was distant, like something invisible was blocking your connection with God, stay with me, because this message is for you. Before we begin, take a moment and comment below. What prayer does your soul need today? Let this be the first honest step toward reconnecting with divine grace. And if messages like this speak to your heart, tap like and subscribe so this light can reach even more souls. It all begins in silence. You open your eyes. The morning light enters the room. Your body moves from rest to action. But before your soul has a chance to awaken, you grab your phone. Yes, that glowing screen. Messages, news, distractions, the noise of the world. All of it floods your mind before a single thought of God crosses your heart. And this, according to the teachings of Padre Pio, is a spiritual tragedy happening in millions of homes every single morning. Padre Pio warned us, the first moment of your day belongs to your soul. It is sacred. That first breath, that first thought, is an offering. When given to heaven, it blesses the entire day, but when given to the world and to fear, to vanity, to noise, it poisons everything that follows. Your peace is weakened. Your prayer becomes dry. And heaven, though always listening, becomes distant, not because God moved, but because you did. How many times have you felt anxiety before even getting out of bed? How often do you feel your heart heavy before your feet touch the floor? These are signs, spiritual symptoms. And Padre Pio, with his deep love and divine insight, saw what was happening. We are silencing God's voice the moment we wake up. Imagine the angels waiting to receive your first prayer, your first sign of gratitude. And instead you feed your mind with alerts, arguments, and emptiness. This is not a judgment, it's a call to awaken. Comment below, Padre Pio, help me give my mornings to heaven. Let this be the first act of true devotion today. There's a kind of fatigue that no coffee can fix, a heaviness that no shower or breakfast can wash away. You wake up and move, but deep inside, your soul remains in shadows. This hidden weight doesn't come from lack of sleep. It comes from the absence of God in the very first moment of your day. Padre Pio understood something few dare to speak about. He knew that when you wake up and immediately engage with the world, scrolling, planning, reacting, your soul doesn't stand a chance. It gets drowned in the noise. It doesn't rise with you. He often spoke of the invisible war happening in the early hours. Not a war of nations or weapons, but a battle for your first thought, your first word, your first love of the day. Will it be the world, or will it be heaven? Many wake up with a rush in their hearts. Deadlines, notifications, fear of what might go wrong. And yet they forget that their greatest protection, their deepest strength, comes from a moment of silence, from whispering Jesus before anything else, from offering that first breath to the Creator. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You need a sacred moment, 1 second to surrender, 1 word of love, 1 thought toward heaven. And when you do, something changes. Peace returns, the soul awakens, grace flows. It's not about perfection, it's about intention. This is what Padre Pio fought for, that we never let the noise of the world drown the whisper of God. You kneel, you whisper sacred words, your lips move with devotion, but still there's a silence, a deep, painful silence, as if heaven hears but does not respond. This is one of the most heartbreaking spiritual experiences, to feel that God is far, to pray and yet feel nothing. Padre Pio warned that many souls live like this, not because they lack faith, but because they begin their day disconnected from grace. The first moments after waking are not just physical, they are spiritual territory. And if those moments are consumed by distraction, comparison, or self-centered thoughts, a wall begins to rise. A wall that prayer cannot easily break. Because prayer without presence becomes noise. Prayer without soul becomes ritual. Padre Pio saw this often. Good people, devout Catholics, praying with dry hearts because the morning silence of heaven had already been sealed. The enemy knows this. He doesn't need to make you stop praying. He only needs to make you pray without power, without direction, without that fire that awakens the soul. And where does it begin? Not at church, not during Mass, but in the first sacred seconds of your day. That's where heaven watches. That's where your soul decides who it will serve, the spirit or the system. If your prayers have felt weak, distant, or ignored, maybe it's not your fault. Maybe you just forgot that the spiritual world doesn't wait. It moves the moment you open your eyes. Write in the comments, Padre Pio, tear down the wall between my soul and heaven. Let your words today break the silence of yesterday. It never starts with darkness. It starts with light, artificial light, a glowing screen, a quick scroll, a headline, a message, and just like that, the eyes awaken, but the soul remains blind. This is how spiritual blindness enters, slowly, silently, through habits so common that no one even suspects them. Padre Pio spoke of this with deep sorrow. He saw how souls, little by little, were replacing the voice of God with noise. How the first moment of the day, once filled with reverence and holy awe, had become polluted with distraction and vanity. And the consequences, they don't scream, they whisper. You begin to lose sensitivity to sin. You no longer feel moved by prayer. You hear the word of God, but it no longer pierces the heart. You begin to see the world more than you see the soul. You become blind in spirit. Spiritual blindness is one of the most dangerous conditions of the soul. Because when you're physically blind, you know you're in the dark. But when you're spiritually blind, you walk as if you see and fall without knowing why. This is why Padre Pio insisted that the first moments of the day must belong to God. Not because God needs it, but because you do. Because the way you begin your day sets the tone for your eternity. You don't need more hours of prayer. You need the first second of awareness to be sacred, to be pure, to be a yes to God before the world offers its noise. And when you protect your morning like this, something begins to change. Your soul starts to see again, and what it sees is heaven. There's a moment right after you wake up, a sacred pause, where your soul is still open, not yet distracted, not yet anxious, just still. In that fragile window, heaven is closest. And what you choose to do with that moment determines more than your morning. It shapes the atmosphere of your entire day. Padre Pio used to say that the first decision after rising is the one that sets the course for the soul. He warned that when the very first act of the day is self-centered, checking appearance, reading messages, chasing notifications, a door closes. Not because God abandons you, but because you turn your gaze away from Him. On the other hand, when you wake and whisper a simple prayer, when your first thought is, God, I'm here, everything shifts. The day becomes lighter, your reactions softer, your decisions clearer. That one act becomes a shield, spiritual protection that no news feed can offer. Many people live entire days in frustration without realizing that the problem wasn't their job, their spouse, or their schedule. It was their first decision of the day, a decision that either invites grace or blocks it. This isn't about guilt, it's about power. You hold a key that unlocks divine peace every single morning. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin well. Begin with God. If this message speaks to your heart, show heaven you're listening. Tap like right now to let this truth echo further. And if your soul longs for more messages like this one, subscribe and walk this journey with us. Every video is created for your soul. Padre Pio never started his day with noise. He never reached for comfort. He never checked what was happening in the world. His first action always was to enter into silence and offer his soul to God before the sun even touched the sky. While others were still asleep, Padre Pio was already awake, not just physically, but spiritually. He would rise early, place himself in the presence of God, and pray. Not long prayers filled with words, but deep, humble surrender. He understood that the beginning of the day was sacred ground, a battlefield where victory could be won or lost in the first minutes. This was not a show of holiness, it was survival. Padre Pio knew that spiritual attacks come strongest when the soul is vulnerable, and there is no moment more vulnerable than just after waking. He taught that this was the time when demons try to implant distraction, discouragement, or confusion, but he did not give them space. He would often kneel while the world slept. He would offer his pain, his weakness, and his will, and in return, grace flowed. His mornings became armor. His silence became power. This is what so many Catholics forget. They want peace during the day, but they give away the first moment to anxiety. They want clarity, but begin with chaos. Padre Pio's life teaches us that the secret is not in having more time. It is in giving the beginning to God. You don't need to wake up at 4 a.m. You don't need to be a saint. You only need to choose differently in the first 5 seconds. That choice could change your entire life. There are days when everything outside seems fine, but something inside feels broken. You smile out of habit, you talk, you move, but deep down there is an emptiness that you cannot explain, a silent ache that follows you from the moment you wake up. It is not sadness, it is not fear, it is distance. This is the spiritual dryness that Padre Pio spoke about, a condition of the soul where grace is no longer flowing freely, where the connection with heaven feels fragile or lost. And one of the main causes he identified was the way we begin our day. When the first moment is given to the world, your soul starts starving. It is as if you left the house without feeding your spirit, without clothing your heart, without lighting the candle of prayer, and yet you expect peace to remain with you. Padre Pio warned that a soul disconnected in the morning is like a boat without anchor. It drifts all day long, pushed by the winds of the world. Any word can wound it. Any thought can shake it. Any temptation can pull it away. You may have felt this without knowing the reason. You may have blamed life, or people, or even God. But the truth might be much simpler. You may have just forgotten to begin your day with heaven. Not with perfection, but with presence. This is your chance to restore what was lost, to begin again, with honesty and surrender, with silence and intention. Write in the comments, Padre Pio awakened my soul in the morning. There is an invisible hour that most people never notice. It happens between the moment you open your eyes and the moment you remember God. In this small window, something dangerous can happen. The enemy speaks, not with a voice you can hear, but through thoughts that rush into your mind. Fear, worry, regret, shame, distraction. Padre Pio called these the whispers of darkness. He warned that the devil is most active when the soul is least aware, and that is exactly how most people begin their day. You think you are just remembering your problems, but it is spiritual warfare. You think you are just checking the time, but you are already under influence. That first thought can shape your entire inner atmosphere. It can determine whether you walk in peace or in fear, whether your day is guided by grace or pulled by pressure. Padre Pio taught that many temptations do not begin at night. They begin in the morning, in the first careless decisions, in the first missed moments of surrender, when you allow the voice of the world to speak louder than the whisper of the Spirit. That is why he begged people to start their day with a sign of the cross, with a simple act of offering, with a moment of silence that becomes sacred, because when you speak first, heaven listens. When you offer first, grace descends. When you turn your heart to God early, you shut the door to deception. This is not superstition, it is awareness. It is the choice to begin not with fear, but with faith. The enemy waits for your first weakness. Padre Pio invites you to meet that moment with strength from above. There is a moment when everything turns, not because the world changes, but because your soul does. It happens when you decide to begin your day with God, not as a task, not as an obligation, but as a relationship, a living act of love. Padre Pio witnessed countless souls transformed by this single change. They went from confusion to clarity, from spiritual dryness to inner peace, from fear to strength, and it all began with one simple habit: giving the first seconds of the morning to God. You do not need perfect words. You do not need an hour of prayer. You only need intention. You wake up, and before doing anything, you close your eyes and whisper, "Lord, I give this day to you." That alone can open heaven. That alone can silence the enemy. That alone can realign your heart. This is what Padre Pio lived every day. He knew that grace does not come by accident. It comes by surrender. He knew that a Catholic morning routine must begin not with movement, but with stillness. Not with the body, but with the soul. When you begin this way, your spirit becomes stronger. Your reactions change. Your words carry peace. Your eyes see deeper. You are no longer surviving your day. You are living it with purpose, with power, with divine presence. This is the miracle hidden in routine, the sacred secret inside the ordinary, the first 5 seconds that change the next 24 hours. Comment below, "God, I choose to begin every day with you." Let this small act be the doorway to something eternal. The soul does not fall in one day. It fades slowly, morning after morning. Small neglects, missed opportunities, forgotten moments of grace. This is how the spiritual life weakens. Not through storms, but through silence. A silence that grows every time you ignore heaven's whisper when you wake up. Padre Pio saw this clearly. He knew that many people live far from God, not because they turned away on purpose, but because they never turned toward Him in the first place. They allowed the days to begin without prayer, without purpose, without spiritual protection. And little by little, the fire faded. The enemy does not fear your good intentions. He fears your discipline, your choice to pray when it is hardest, your habit of starting the day with God, because that habit builds a wall that darkness cannot climb. It becomes your shield, your sword, your light. But when you choose to ignore this habit, the price is heavy. Your peace disappears. Your emotions control you. Your heart becomes cold. You begin to live as if God were far even when He is near. And soon you forget what it felt like to be close to grace. You do not need to wait until everything collapses. You can return to the light right now. You can take back your mornings. You can protect your soul with a simple decision made in silence, with heaven watching. Padre Pio's voice still echoes. Begin your day with God, and you will never walk alone. Delay, and you may forget the sound of His voice. This is the moment to choose light, not tomorrow, now. Now you know the truth. The first thing you do in the morning is not just a habit. It is a spiritual decision. A choice between light and darkness, between grace and distraction, between silence and the voice of God. Padre Pio did not give this warning to scare you. He gave it to awaken you, to shake your soul gently out of its sleep and remind you that heaven is not far. It is listening, always. But your heart must speak first. Your soul must rise before the world pulls you down. You do not need to be perfect to begin again. You just need to be willing. Tomorrow morning, or even the next moment you open your eyes, choose to say, "Lord, I am here." That one act will change everything. If this message reached your heart, if you felt the voice of heaven calling you through these words, click like now. It shows that your soul is listening. And if you want to walk deeper into this journey of spiritual awakening with Padre Pio, subscribe to this channel. Every video here is created for your protection, your peace, and your eternal hope. Write in the comments, "I will begin my days with God." So I know you are with us until the end. And if this video opened your eyes, wait until you see what Padre Pio said about the rosary and the mistake that blocks its power. Click the next video and keep walking in the light. You are not alone. Heaven is watching and Padre Pio is praying for you. God bless you.